The deck profile you are about to witness scored first among 17 players at the M20 draft at my local gaming store. This is the fourth episode of Limited Intros. We already had a consistent intro. You can't change the intro. The normal format is I introduce myself and then the cards, and then we talk about how it went down. I am altering the intro. Pray I don't alter it further. Now on to the deck profile. So first we have a Spectral Sailor. He's a 1/1 with flying. The 3 in a blue is amazing because you get to draw a card whenever you want to, which is pretty easy in this deck. And then he has Flash that becomes relevant later. He also has Fly, which becomes relevant as well. Not 1 but 2 copies of Unsummon. It's not quite as good as Infuriate, but it's way more versatile. You can take these, declare a blocker, unsummon it back into your hand. Because I'm playing a lot of blue, I get a lot of extra ETB effects. It's really solid and it's great. Not 1, not 2, but 3 copies of Faerie Miscreant. Holy hell. Wait till I talk about the tournament experience section. I don't think there's any world in which I should have gotten 3 Faerie Miscreants. Even 2 is enough to say, oh, well, maybe I'll get lucky and draw 2 of them. But when you have 3, the consistency is insane. It's just way, way more than people should expect to deal with in a limited booster draft format. Next is the Cerulean Drake. A bit underwhelming. It flies for 2 mana, which isn't too bad, and it does have protection from red and the ability to sack it. I had one case where I was able to use it. I'll talk more about that later, but overall, a bit underwhelming, honestly. Metropolis Sprite. Are you noticing the colors and how everything flies? So this thing is a flying 1/2, which is great because it can transform itself into a 2/1 whenever it wants to. 1/2 means it doesn't care about the Griffin. That's the 1/3 with Vigilance. It can chump it for days. And then if anything gets in the way, you can just transform it into a 2/1. A 2/1 for 2 with the air gets not only some consistent damage in, it puts them on the infamous 10-turn clock, but it also allows you to make blocks that you wouldn't normally without that. Again, not 1, but 2 copies, this time of an uncommon, Brineborn Cutthroat. So just as the Spectral Sailor has Flash and I have 2 unsummons, so they have the ability to be played on my opponent's turn, Brineborn Cutthroat gets there as well. It's a 2/1 with Flash, and because I have 2 of them, I can play a Brineborn Cutthroat on my opponent's turn, declare it as a blocker if I want to. If not, keep it there, mess up the combat calculus, and then on my next turn, I can wait, play the second one, that boosts the first one up to a 3/2, barring any other instance, which is absolutely crazy because there's a bunch of scary things like the Thicket Crasher, that's a 4/3, a lot of 1/3s that don't like getting run into by a 3/2 or finding out that they're not blocked out, a lot of things that have 1 power, finding out that they're not going to get there when you flash in a second one and now you have a 3/2, really, really solid, synergizes with itself, and everything else as well. 2 copies of Anticipate. This deck is the ridiculous number of doubles and triple copies of things. It's just not to be overstated. So 1 in a blue, instant, look at the top 3 cards, pick 1, put it into your hand. Not 1 but 2 of these. You saw the Brineborn Cutthroats, so these are instants that also interact with the Brineborn Cutthroats, who managed to get a lot bigger as a result of this. Digging is really good. Going 3 cards deep in a 40-card deck, that's really a 33-card deck, because you started off with 7 cards, provided you didn't mulligan, is great. London mulligan at this event also meant that blue and draw power was even crazier, so imagine you don't mulligan, and then you are on the play. So you have 33 cards left in your library, and this gets through 3 of 33 of them. That's about 9.999%. It's just crazy. That's ridiculous. Why? It's so good. 1 copy of Unholy Indenture. Is that correct? Yep, 1 copy of Unholy Indenture. Most people, I'll get into this for the tournament experience, I think this card is undervalued, but still mediocre at best. A lot of people are enchant. I saw them enchant other people's creatures with the Indenture. I enchant my own because I have plenty of ETB effects. 1 copy of Tomebound Lich, another ETB target. You play him and you get a lot of good defense against scary things like the 4/3 Thicket Crashers of the world. Even though he'll take the damage from trample, it's mitigated somewhat by the fact that he has lifelink. The fact that you draw and discard immediately means you can dig towards win conditions. He has the way that he exists, and all of the other flyers mean that you have pretty solid control of the air, and then he takes care of anything that's really big and scary on the ground. I didn't get to go against it, but if you see the undead dinosaur, this guy stops him immediately, and it's great. And a copy of Murder. What can I say? It's murder. One copy of Winged Words. You've seen that almost everything in here flies. I think the only thing that you've seen so far that does it is the Brineborn Cutthroat, and those don't fly so much as they get there super hard. So Winged Words basically reads 1 in a blue for anything that I do to draw 2 cards, which is amazing. That's just strictly better than Anticipate. There were 3 copies at the table. I only got 1, and I don't think I saw anyone else actually play any of the other ones, but this is a really, really valuable card. This is, again, the craziness. Not 1, not 2, 3 copies of Frost Lynx. I don't know how, but it seemed like no one else wanted these. So what more can you say? It's Mana War Jellyfish, but it's not. So you play it, and then you tap something down, you just continue the assault. And so most of my stuff flies. The stuff that doesn't fly is getting stuff either out of the way or chumping. And the Lynx is great as a turn 3 play because you can continue the aggression with your tiny flyers. It's great as a turn 4, 5, 6 play because it taps down the large guys and allows combat calculus to work in your favor for a turn or 2, and you can abuse it with UTP effects and unsummon. It's just really solid. Gravedigger, because what's better than unsummoning a Lynx or any of these other triggers? It's letting them die inefficiently so that you can play this, get them back, and then do it again. Fathom Fleet Cutthroat, a bit underwhelming. Yeah, there weren't very many times when I picked this up I thought, well, if I swing out and they'll block efficiently, then I could play this. Any damage that they let me get, that's fine, and anything that they block is taking at least a point of damage. I play this and it kills it, and that only came up once in one game, and it didn't really change the state of the game. I was already winning pretty decisively. I would have rather have had a 4th Faerie Miscreant, or a 4th Lynx, or just a bunch of other cards instead. This is the second time I've played this card. It's been okay at best in both scenarios. I probably won't play with it again, barring something very strange. Gruesome Scourger is amazing. 5 mana for a 3/3 that does minimum 1 damage to your opponent when he lands is great. There's a pretty heavy tendency in this curve towards the bottom. So when you get to about turn 5, 6, 7, I have a lot of creatures that fly, but I need to hold some of them back. Otherwise, I'm starting to lose the ground game, even though I'm winning in the air. And what's great about this is, oh, wait. I just hit you for 6, 7, 8 damage, and then that's the end of the game. Really solid. I consider that a secondary win condition. This is one of the primary win conditions. Frilled Sea Serpent. A 4/6 is really good because right now there's the 5/3 that green has that's solid, and the Regisaur is a 7/6, but this can easily be boosted to the point where it'll live through that. This can't be blocked this turn. For just 1 more mana, you're going to get the mana. You have so much draw power. And so this just says, well, you have, 8 left? Maybe 10 after all of the combat shenanigans in the air and all the drawing and the killing and the murdering and the bouncing and the tapping that I was getting in. So this is just a nice, good cleaner. And then finally, the card art for this video, Bloodsoaked Altar. This is great for the same reason. Frilled Sea Serpent comes in on a board that your opponent's knocked to half-life or less, and then you start chipping through with an unblockable Sea Serpent. This says, well, it's scarier than all of my 1/1 flyers that, if I haven't jumped them out, don't matter anymore, or my 2/2 Lynxes that aren't doing anything because I can't flicker them again. I'll just sack them for a 5/5 Demon and swing in the air, and that immediately screws with the calculus for everything that your opponent has, because now they need a flyer not to stabilize, but to survive. 1 copy of Cryptic Caves, 3, 6, 9, 10 islands, and 5 swamps. I'm going to start this in a different way than I have been in the previous videos. So first I'm going to tell you about your store. if your store does Friday Night Magic or Saturday Night Magic, or it does drafting at some point during the week, here's how it goes. There are the regulars, of which you may be included, and then there are other people who are semi-regulars who don't live in the store the way that you or maybe some other people do. Maybe this is you that we're talking about, and whenever they show up, all the regulars go, hey! And the store owner goes, hey! And everyone has a great time, okay? And you show up for draft, and you know, that's the person I don't want to go against because they always get 5 colors and all the fixing, no matter what the set is or how impossible that is. And I don't want to go against that guy because he's the guy that, this guy exists in my store. We played War of the Spark 8 drafts. This man gets Nicol Bolas 6 times. I don't know how that's possible. It's not possible. Like, I watched him open the pack and then see it because I just couldn't believe that this man has 75% Nicol Bolas pick rate in draft. Crazy. But he does. And then there's the person that you don't want to go against because even if you always win or you always lose, you know it's going to be a long drawn out affair that's going to sap your energy, and it just always happens that way. Regulars. Now here's the problem and the solution. I like that there are new people. I really do. They're good for the local gaming store. There are more people to play against. They add new flavor. It's interesting, right? Here's the problem with new people. It's nothing to do with the fact that they're new or that they're people. It's that they're new people. They're both of them. And so here's the thing with new people. You have no idea how good these people are. Like, do you know what drafting is like when you don't know anything about the person you're receiving cards from? You're like, I can't tell if you gave me amazing cards because you don't know what you're doing, or you gave me amazing cards because you have the craziest deck ever. I don't know if you're not passing this color because you're sucking it up, or because you have just not received any, and that's just the luck of the draw that I've gotten before my pack made it all the way around the table so I can kind of feel out what's left. I have no idea what you're doing, and that scares me. So, okay, here's the way it went. Bunch of new people show up. I think like 4 or 5 new people. So they're doing the seedings, and Wizards does the seeding as follows. There's currently, everyone pre-draft is sitting, there's 7 or 8 of us sitting there waiting, thinking, oh man, imagine if this is the pod. And we're all thinking, no, I hope this is not the pod, because this is going to be a really competitive pod if all of us are sat together. And I hear the call outs, and guess who gets called out? Me. To go to the other pod. So I go to the other pod, and what do I find there? The characters are as follows. 4 new people. A guy and one guy that I know that hasn't drafted, he hasn't been playing Magic for too long. He definitely hasn't been drafting for too long. And then one person that I know, I'm so grateful that he's on the opposite end of the table because neither one of us can mess with either one of us. So I'm thinking, okay. So he and I, we could just get washed. This could actually be terrible. All these new people could be amazing, and they came in as a pack of people, so I'm like, oh no. Meanwhile, on the other side, everyone's having a great time. All the regulars are potting up against one another, they're drafting, they're having just a grand old time, and I'm thinking, no. And guess what? The guy to my right, he knows what he's doing. He gets like this Gruul mastermind. He gets like double Trailblazers and everything, and I'm just like, what? He gets past his second to last card in his pack that he gets past is a Cryptic Cave. This is M20. There's an island and a Cryptic Cave left in his pack, and I look at him and I say, so you're going to take the island, right? Because I really want. Do you know how crazy last pick Cryptic Cave is? That's absurd. That is beyond the pale of reckoning. No, he doesn't do that. He keeps Cryptic Cave, and he just kind of chuckles like, I don't know why this is the second to last card. I'm thinking, oh no. This guy is to my right. He passes to my left twice. I pass to his right once. I'm so dead. And then I'm not. And I'm looking at the deck that I have, and I'm like, this is gross. Double Anticipate, double Unsummon, 3 Faerie Miscreants, and a Murder, and the Soaked Altar, and 3 Lynx. Wait, what? And so, okay. We got out of the draft. We survived. There was one scary dude. of the new people who was to my right, and the guy to my left was not as scary, either because he only passed to the right once in the normal rotation, or it just didn't affect me that much, right? So 2 of the new people are to my left, and 1 of the new guys are to my right, and the guy to my right knew what he was doing. So I look at my deck, I'm like, never drafted this for M20, but this seems solid. Like, I'm so close to playing bad standard right now that it's crazy. And so, let's talk about the concept of the nuts. No, not those nuts. No, not pecans either. So, the nuts is when you get the hand that's like, oh geez, this is the hand that when you're looking at your mana curve, you're like fantasizing in your draft. You're like, wouldn't it be great if I got 3 lands, these 4 cards, and they're on curve and it's beautiful, and I just have every contingency known to man. It's going to be amazing. So the nuts for this looks as follows. Turn 1, Island, tap, Faerie Miscreant. Turn 2, Island, tap, Faerie Miscreant, tap, Faerie Miscreant. Draw 2 cards, swing in the air for 1, continue doing bull. So one of the first opponents that I had was at our table, and he was a newer guy. And I realized I have yet to upload this deck. This is the same guy that I killed when we were playing Modern Horizons, and he brought me down to 1 life, and he had no flyers, and I killed him with a flying indestructible eldritch horror known as Merit Lage. Flying indestructible 2020, smack in the face, dead. This same guy is the guy I'm against round 1, and I got the nut hand, like, so nutty. It's a nutty professor, like crazy, absolutely insane to even contemplate. So I'm looking at my hand, it has 3 Faerie Miscreants in it and 1 island. I'm thinking, I'm on the draw. I'm definitely going to get that. I have to keep I have to keep this hand. And so, draw. It's fine. No land. It's okay. Island, Faerie Miscreant. Go. I'll draw it next turn. He plays. He's like, oh, okay. He has a turn 2 play. It's like he turn 2 Soulmenders or something like that, which I'm thinking, this is great for me. Okay, I'll draw, and this is going to be an island. This is not an island. Tap the existing island, play the second Faerie Miscreant. Draw, it's an island. Tap that, play that island, tap that island, play this 3rd Faerie Miscreant, and it gets there, it's a swamp, and I now have all of my colors and crazy draw power and just swinging in the air, and now that I have 3, it's crazy, because what are the other 2 cards in my hand? Why, of course, they're Lynxes, so I'm Faerie, Lynx, smack, and he's like, I'm dead. And then, that was game 1, and then game 2, it was just, how many times can a Lynx get out? This Lynx, well, 1 Lynx got played unsummoned, ran into trade to die, Gravediggered, brought back, played again. 4 times on 1 Lynx, and I have 3 of them. He was not a happy camper. That was a 2-0 of 2-0 proportions, and so on to my next game. Next guy I was playing against is this guy who, remember how I was telling you, there's that guy who, you know he's not cheating, or she's not, you know the person isn't cheating, and somehow they're running way too many colors for the set. Like, it shouldn't be possible, yet somehow they have every color and every color combination and all of the fixing, or maybe they don't have fixing, and they just draw lands perfectly. And they never get mana screwed, and you don't know how it's scientifically or mathematically or probabilistically possible, but it happens. That is the guy I'm going against this time. And he says, oh, I have, just random jank. And that's new. I'm like, oh, normally he says he has 4 or 5 color good stuff, or he has trash, both of which are amazing. He says, oh, I have jank. This man's jank is as follows. He has 2 Anvil Wrought Raptors, the 4 mana 2/1 first strike flyer. And you're thinking, oh, that's actually kind of playable. There's a bunch of things that have 2 toughness. Be a shame if it had 3 power though, because then it could really get there. He had a foil steel Overseer. what? But he never got into any of those crazy combinations. So game one, I just did my normal thing. It wasn't Faerie Miscreant into craziness. I actually ended up winning because I had the Cutthroat, and I Cutthroat and Spectred into Cutthroat, and then the Spectre just drew and drew and drew and drew, and I like drew into gas, like draw into my Anticipate, draw into my Faerie Miscreant. I didn't even have to, and then eventually the end of game one was, okay, my board is pretty much set up. Frilled fish fry. That's not what it's called, but you know what I mean. It looks like fish fry. Giant fish fry stick. Swing with unblockable fish fry sticks. And he's like, okay. I lose. I've got nothing for that. I'm like, oh, okay. We go to game two. And we play out game two. And he actually does get mana screwed because he only has 4 of his 5 colors. What a shame. Turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. He plays like a swamp, a forest, an island, and a mountain, and he doesn't have a plains. And he has removal with plains in his hand. I'm like, well, that sucks, but it's great for me. All right, so 2-0, on to the next guy. And the next guy, I felt bad for the next guy. So round 3, it's another new guy, and he, I don't think, was very experienced in Magic because he was paying for things by mana cost and trying to play them before he would untap, pay for things to play, and then draw. So I had to tell him, no, that's not how you do it. Like you untap, upkeep, draw, right? You draw, and then you have to do it this way so that I know how much mana you have. Because if you're, first off, imagine if you could pay for things as you're untapping them as a normal rule. Like, do I have to sit there and count what lands you're doing and how? And it just was a hassle. And then game 1, he was down to 7 life, and I played, what's the guy? Not Unholy Indenture. I played the Gruesome Scourger when I had 7 tiny dudes, because I had like 2 of my Lynxes, 2 of my Faerie Miscreants, and then a bunch, like 2 other dudes out. I think the Spectre was out there as well, and he was at 7 life, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to end this game. I play the Gruesome Scourger, and ETB, he hits you for 7. He looks at his life total. You know what number it is? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 6. It's smaller than 8. 9 is right out. And if you get that reference, you're awesome. So he's down to 7 life. He takes 7 damage. Alright, there we go. Game 2 was the only game where my foresight paid off. So this deck is not meant to win early. It's meant to be like get you close and then draw into answers and resources until I get to a win condition. So hey, that's enough. So my win condition, and here we get to a really long game. We're both at about 6-7 life, and I have a bunch of 3/3s, and he keeps playing his own Unholy Indenture on my guys, because I think he thinks, oh, if I play this, you can't block, because if you do, I get the enter the battlefield effect, and it'll come over to my side. I was just glad he didn't play it on his own stuff and then start swinging, because he had plenty of stuff that if it had triggered, if I had blocked it, I'd have been forced to kill it, and then it would have triggered on his side, which would have been even more annoying, because it'd be coming in stronger, but he didn't do that. So we get to this locked up board state, and eventually I have like 10 cards left in my library when I finally see the win condition. Let me find it. Bloodsoaked Altar. Oh yeah. 4 black is trivial at that point, and then tapping this, sacking 2 life, and one of my useless creatures to make a 5/5 flyer in the air. It got good really quick. Special credit to the Tomebound Lich for making it so that I could just keep gaining life, and this guy never blocked the Lich, despite having stuff that was big enough to block the Lich. You know what they say, we take those. Okay, so on to round 4. On to round 4. It's the guy that I was afraid of at the beginning of this whole adventure. He's the guy who's to my right. I'm ready. No, I'm not ready. So game 1, he mulligans. We're doing the London mulligan. So London mulligan's been really great for this, for these cards. For this deck in particular, because, oh, I have 2 miscreants. Alright, that's fine. Oh, I have Anticipate. Done. Oh, I'm on the draw. I don't care. Oh, I have 2 Lynxes. That'll stabilize any board that I have. That's great. I look at my hand. It's okay. It has 2 Lynxes, which is always a good sign, and an Anticipate, but that it doesn't have the Miscreants or the Spectre or anything crazy like that. And we're doing Lennon Mulligan, so I'm really thinking of mulliganing. I do. So he wins the roll. He mulligans. I mulligan. He draws 7. He has to go down to 6 now. And put 1 back if he's going to keep. He doesn't. He mulligans again. He goes now to 7, but he's going to only keep 5. No lands. He mulligans to 4. Oh, do you know what it feels like to mulligan to 4? But do you know what it feels like to see your opponent mulligan to 4? Yes. Yes. And so I was, I felt like, oh, if I don't win this game. Okay, this is a freebie. He's down to 4, and he's on the play. And I've only mulliganed once, and I have a decent hand. I should definitely lock this up and call it a day. So I did. And we went about 5-6 turns, and then he realized, no, this isn't going to keep working, because I had the Lynx, and I could keep bouncing the Lynx and unsummoning stuff, so that I could declare a blocker and then unsummon it and get its ETB effect again, and just do a bunch of stuff like that. And I was at the point where the board had stabilized, and I was just drawing cards with Spectre, and he had nothing to it because his hand was empty. So 1 for 1, and I won the 1 for 1. We get to game 2, and the board state gets complicated. So I have to say, in M20, I thought that the Heartseeker Bow, the artifact, I think it's 1 and then equip 1, and it does 1 damage to a target creature whenever you attack with it. So the idea is, oh, there's a 1/1, shoot the 1/1. There's the 2/1, shoot that. He put it on, I think, the Gorillaback Shaman, who's a 5/4. Now, I had the turn before, I got my Fish Fry guy out, who's a 3/6, if you remember. So he puts out this 5/4, and I can't, or 5/3, I think. A 5/4, I'm sorry, I can't block. If I block his Shaman, he draws a card, and he kills one of my win conditions, and he will gladly trade that all day, every day. And so I misplay at the end of his turn, before he goes to declare he declares attackers. Before I declare blockers, I flash into Cutthroat, and I remember thinking I should take a Cutthroat and a Lynx and double block this guy. He's tapped out. He won't be able to put the bow on anything else, and then I could just keep swinging, and that'll be game. But I whiff it badly, so I only flash in to get my other Cutthroat bigger, but I don't block the guy. So I end up chumping with something else because I just misplayed terribly, and I play after that the Tomebound Lich, and he looks at me and he says, after my turn I pass and the board is in its state and I've got open mana. He says, I know this sounds weird, but I'm going to concede. It's like, what? You have a 5/4. Yeah, you have a 5/4 that can kill my Fish Fry guy. I have a 2/1, a 3/2, and a couple of 1/1s in the air. He says, yes, but if he has to declare an attack, and this is what he explained. And he had a couple 3/3s that would have been annoying. But he can't swing out with the team, because if he swings with the team, what he chooses as the target for the bow matters. So if he uses the Heartseeker and kills the 2/1 Cutthroat, I block with the Tomebound Lich, and trade 1 for 1 the Lich for that. I gain 1 life, his big threat dies, and that's worth it. I also gain 1 life, small recompense. If he swings with the other 3/3s alone, they'll just get chumped out by Fish Fry. If he swings with the 5/4 and uses the bow to hit the Fish Fry, I don't have to block with that. I just block with the Tomebound Lich. If he shoots any target, he has to declare an attack to get the ping, and then I just block with the Lich. He's like, I have no way of getting over that. I was like, okay, but why'd you? Because I have 1 flyer. But why did you keep going from there? But he only had 1 card in hand. I think he had a Disenchant, which wouldn't help him because my Bloodsoaked Altar wasn't on the board, and I wasn't running any other enchantments or artifacts. So he's like, yeah, I drew into this, and I know that you have 5 cards in hand, and it's not going to go well. Now, I thought he could have played it out a bit longer, but I was pretty happy to take that win, especially since he was so scary to come back up through the finals, and he was to my right. I was somewhat afraid of how skilled he was and what draws he got, considering that he was on my right, and he did seem to know something about what he was talking about. All worked out in the end. So a clean 4-0, 2-0'd absolutely everything. Even the one game that was kind of close was round 3, game 2. It was close. I'm sure you've seen games like this. It was close in the sense that the life totals were close. It was close in the sense that the board states looked roughly equal, but it was not close in the sense that I had an answer in terms of tempo for all the things that he had to play. And my win condition was better because I had the altar. I had more life gain, I had more presence, I had more dudes. He didn't have any smash through, and even if he had, he wasn't in the right colors for overcome, and he didn't have the tectonic rift. I think it's not called tectonic rift. It's the thing 3 in a red that makes it so that you can't block unless your creature has flying. But I had plenty of flyers, so that wasn't a problem. So I didn't really think that any of my games were particularly close. I caught a couple of lucky breaks, and obviously the pod that I was in helped a lot. And while I won, I felt like that is the minimum of what I should have done, considering now what I know now of the pod, which is that it was definitely not as scary as the other pod at the table. So sometimes you get lucky. This is a case of my luck manifesting, and I just happened to win out.